Hello everyone, I'm Pirate Dave. It is March 25th, 2026. It is another new comic book day. Let's get right into it. Up first, I picked up Wiccan Witch's Road number 4. I've been enjoying this series quite a lot. Wiccan's really in the thick of it right now. We've gotten a little bit of backstory about his relationship with the Demiurge, if that's how you pronounce it, as well as learned the true identity of the Nameless. I won't say it out loud, but you could see the cover here and infer context if you know generally what's going on in the story. Like I said, the asides with him and Hulkling especially are some of the things that make this a really charming book to get into. I don't know if we're seeing a... Okay, we're seeing a little bit of a flashback here before the fall of the throne. And this would have been what happened in Imperial, just before Wiccan has been robbed of his powers and has started his path down the Witch's Road. And of course, we're seeing a little bit of a backstory with Baba Yaga and the character revealed in the last issue. Next, we have Absolute Wonder Woman number 18. Another another book that's rife with magic. Of course, Absolute Zatanna has been on a lot of people's tongues, on a lot of people's minds. Quite an interesting design they have for her. And that's the most interesting thing about these multiverse books, right? Is seeing a different take on a classic character. Although I'll be surprised if classic Zatanna fans are really are really vibing with the look and attitude of this one. You know, I vaguely remember some of the developments from last issue. I know that Diana is fought the Suicide Squad, the Absolute Suicide Squad, and Zatanna seemed to have helped her during that time. She escaped the clutches of Amanda Waller. So it looks like Zatanna is going to be an ally. Spoilers, I guess. But this book has been very, very full of intrigue, which is a good thing because when it did the crossover with Absolute Batman on number 15, I believe, I was a little bit hesitant and I was a little bit suspicious that we were merging these books together already. And it doesn't seem exactly like that's what's happening. So we're going to get a little bit more of independent storylines for the foreseeable future, which is always nice, of course. Up next, it's not it's not Supergirl and Spider Woman, although that's who's on the cover. This is the variant cover by Adam Hughes. There was something like 27 open order variants for this one, so you really had to pick your favorite. I've always been a fan of Adam Hughes. I love especially the faces that he uses for his characters. Absolutely great. Though I don't know where this costume comes from. I'm guessing 60s or 70s with those puffed up sleeves. And on the inside, you can actually see the massive list of. Normally, you would see the credits for each story there, but that is just variant cover artists. Isn't that crazy? This is primarily written by Mark Waid and illustrated by Jorge Jimenez. At least the first part. The story seems to transition part way into some of the other writers that you've heard of, such as Tom King and Jim Lee. So it looks like you're going to get a more seamless presentation than the Batman Deadpool books did, which were more of a classic sort of anthology setup. See how that goes. It's a nice thick book, so either way, I think you're going to get your money's worth. Up next, we have Death Fight Forever number 2. Death Fight Forever number 1 was something that I really took a risk on. Obviously, as you can see, it's a callback to sort of Double Dragon, Final Fight, early 90s beat 'em up style video games. And right at right at the opening, you'd see that it's leaning heavily into that. And I believe the stories here are called levels. In fact, are named levels, and you can see I don't know where I got levels from. It says chapters here, of course. But you can see the presentation's all just like a old school arcade cabinet. And the colors are really the type of stuff that you wanted people in the 80s to have been reading, right? This clearly this wasn't the case, but this is a situation where the pastiche of designing 80s style aesthetics is a little bit more exaggerated than what it ever was. But I'm totally here for it, man. I mean, when you think back to the awesome, crazy, colorful styles of I don't know if you can show that on YouTube. When you think back to the crazy aesthetics of previous decades, iconic decades, you want them to be exaggerated, and you want them to look like the way you imagine them to be in your mind, not necessarily how they were. Because the 80s weren't certainly weren't that awesome, unfortunately. Up next is Supernatural number 6. This ended its first two-parter last issue, which was interesting. It had a recurring villain from earlier in the series. The boys are currently not driving Baby, their usual car. They've stolen a car, and that car seems to be haunted too, so it led them on an adventure. And I'm not exactly sure why. I don't know that we've exactly figured out why the car is doing that. Looks like we're getting a little bit of a flashback here, 10 years ago, Pittsburgh. And this is going back to its more episodic openings, right? Like just like from the show, where we're going to see the lead up to the presentation of what the supernatural incident that the boys are dealing with this week. So I'm always down for that. You know, two-parters are all right, and I get why writers want to do them, but I'd prefer that series stay episodic, especially that it went to a two-parter so soon. It's issue number 4. Last for the comics at all today, actually, but I do have a different bonus. Last for the comics is Vampirella number 12. I have started to catch up with Christopher Priest's Vampirella, but I'm not quite here yet. We'll take a look inside it anyway. Last issue, we already know that this is taking place back in the sort of Wild West, or at least in some Wild West setting. I don't know if it's exactly the time period, but you can see Ergun Gundes, if that's how you pronounce it, has returned. So fair warning to those who are not down to this aesthetic. And let me say that I get it. When I first started Christopher Priest's Vampirella, the 2019 series, I was not down on Gundes' aesthetic exactly either. And to be fair, it was not as good as it has. He's clearly progressed as an artist. But by this point, I don't know. It's especially for Christopher Priest's Vampirella, I just think it's iconic. I just think Christopher Priest's writing and Gundes' aesthetic go hand in hand. So if you want a Vampirella that doesn't look exactly like this, maybe you think this is like the cell shading of comic books, then check out Vampirella Armageddon or anything that Sniagowski writes, you know, because Sniagowski is the other Vampirella writer, and he seems to be working with a whole lot of different artists. That's it for the comics, but I do have a little bit of an unusual bonus today. I'm not a big figure guy, but I am a big Phantom guy, and what I have here are 2 Phantom figures. Now, you might be saying, since when does the Phantom have breasts? And this is specifically figures for Julie Walker. Julie Walker is the sister of one of the previous Phantoms, not the quote-unquote current Phantom that we usually follow, the 21st Phantom. She's actually the sister of the 18th Phantom, although the blurb on the box here claims that she's the daughter of the 16th, which I don't believe is correct. I believe she's the daughter of the 17th. So her story mainly takes place in the 1800s, and you can see A good example of that here, she uses these cattleman revolvers, I think. I don't know actually that these are specifically cattlemen. I'm sure Red Dead Redemption players will be able to will be able to tell exactly what those are. So she doesn't use the iconic 1911s because she was not operating in 1911. These two figures are not purple, as you could all probably also parse. The first one is red. Red is the classic color for the Mediterranean Phantom, which is Phantom comics released in Italy, in Turkey, I think in parts of Germany as well. He might have been red. And then blue is the common color for the Norwegian, not Norwegian, sorry, Nordic Phantom, most popular from Sweden, the Swedish team, Team Phantomen. Um, I don't know how. I know that Julie Walker has a lot of content from Team Phantom, and I know that because I actually one of the Fru comics that I own, of the few that I do, is number 1774, which is the annual, which collects like about 8 Julie Walker stories. It's very fantastic, and most of them are written by Team Phantom, I suppose. So this is actually very appropriate that she has the blue. And you know, I'm not much of a figure guy, so we're just gonna go ahead and open this real quick. If you don't know about hero hacks, and I'm sure those who are more figure guys probably do know more about hero hacks. They're very display friendly in this sense. These backboards just slide right out, and then this just slides right out, and then the main plastic just slides right out. And I don't believe they come sealed at all. So for collectors, that might not be so great of a thing, but for people that display their figures, it's really fantastic. It's a very cool figure. Size comparison, I don't know. My hand's probably not the best thing. Here's a PS5 controller to see what the size of this is. I think this retails $15-ish. And you can see it comes with a fair amount of accessories. See a saber, a cutlass, some different hands, the guns, and of course a different head model. So if you want her cowl to be over her, then you have that option as well. And then real quick, this figure is a little bit different other than just the color, because instead of the saber, we see that we actually have a book of the Phantom Chronicles, which is the library of chronicles that document all the previous Phantom's adventures that they have to read through whenever they need to figure out something that happened with a past Phantom. That's it for this week. Hopefully you enjoyed the nice little figures haul. Like I said, I'm not a big figure guy, but I am a big Julie Walker Phantom guy, and I've got to turn that around afterwards here. I'm a big Julie Walker Phantom guy, so whenever I can find merchandise for her, I do try to pick it up. If you're interested, like I said, you could check out, I believe it's the Sunday Story number 52 is when she's first introduced by Lee Falk. Fru Phantom number 1774 is the annual that collects her most of her stories, including the Moonstone Comics standalone story, Julie Walker is the Phantom, which is an awesome story crossover with her and Around the World in 80 Days, if you're a fan of those older classic novel stories. I was Pirate Dave. Hopefully you're having a great week ahead of you. I've actually got WonderCon coming up this Friday, so maybe I'll see some of you there. Maybe I won't. Maybe you won't know it's me. Maybe I won't know it's you. But if anybody is going to be there, just drop a line and maybe we can meet up, grab a beer, do something. Bye.